This is Dan Drake. We're on Front Up on Geno TV, Channel 99. Our guest today is Nat Lowell, one of the most interesting people in Nantucket. A man of many hats, a man of many opinions, and it's great to have you here, Nat.
Thank you, Dan, very much.
Before we get into talking about what you and I want to talk about, would you explain to me the difference between the Planning Board and the NP and EDC?
Well, the Planning Board is regulatory and deals with the subdivision control law and
zoning.
MCDs, zoning, second driveway cuts, second dwellings. Basically, everything that the Zoning Board of Appeals doesn't do, regulatory-wise, the Planning Board does.
Right.
Some change of use depending on if it's an MCD or not. Like, for instance, like...
Well, we were just talking about the hub, and when she changed her use, she had to come...
The Zoning Board of Appeals probably did that.
I guess she didn't say that.
I haven't seen that. Right. The Planning Commission is entirely different. Planning Commission was set up in 1973, act of the legislature. Basically, you have regional planning agencies throughout the state. The Vineyard Commission and the Cape Cod Commission are the ones that the people around here have heard of the most, so that we'll stick with those. The Cape Cod Commission has full regulatory authority. That's why you see, like, BJ's not have auto parts and oil, and they can control what they do. The Vineyard Commission has regulatory authority as well. We don't have regulatory authority except a new act that was just home rule petition 2 years ago that just it's legal now. We have authority over 30,000 square foot and above. There's two other little things. Something, I think it's 3 miles offshore or 3 miles from shoreline. It's some small stuff, but it's important because we got that done because of the Oceans Act. People, this is another thing that the public is unaware of, possibly, is in 2008 this Oceans Act was passed, and nobody knows about these things. Well, basically, it's for a simple way to explain it, it's a zoning map of the ocean around Nantucket and the Vineyard for windmills. Essentially, it's like we were the Gulf of Mexico with oil, and we're going to lease land for Exxon or for Shell, kind of like that. Personally, I don't think any of it's ever going to happen because there's no money to be made in it. But that's why we wanted to get something on the books where we can have some kind of say, because we get left out because we don't have regulatory authority where the Vineyard does. So, and we work with the Vineyard on some things, some stuff with this tidal thing. I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but we do have an agreement with them for that to happen at some point. What
about the economic development part of it?
Well, see, that's the thing that's, and we'll get into that a little later here today. That gets asked a lot. It's not something that you can put your finger on and just say, okay, we want this. But Dan, I'm glad you brought that up. This CVS Stop and Shop A&P Grand Union thing, that was a classic example of what I personally call this public-private partnership that we have got to have with these large property owners, businesses that are really big, that are part of our community, that you can't just get rid of NIR, Winthrop, Stop and Shop. The electric company owns a lot of land here, even though they don't make electricity anymore. They own this, all that land down there at Wolf Square, and we need to work with them, just like we do at planning. When we get a project to come to us, you bargain, you do trading things, you get things for waivers and things like that. And up until that time, we've talked about it. We have, this is the problem when the selectman rotates and these, people get out of office, in office, it sort of starts it over again. And I think with Andrew and planning and how we have a really good cooperative arrangement with town administration, he really works well with town administration. We have a pretty good footprint of what we need to be doing. And I think that we're going to see that now with this new board as things start to percolate downtown, and like with the Mid-Island stuff with Stop and Shop and the fire station issue and the land next to the Boys and Girls Club, these things have to be issues that the public has to understand that something is going to happen on these properties. And we want to get the best outcome for the community at large. You're not going to get everything you want, but you're going to get most of what you want, and the only way you're going to do that is working with them. And that's where the NPDC economic part, in my opinion, is important.
But are there tools in their basket that can be used to?
There are with the state, with some redevelopment stuff. I mean, I can't give you all that legal stuff.
But there are some tools.
Well, the thing about the NPDC that's important for people to realize is that we don't really have much authority. But what it does do is it gives the state, it recognizes us with the state. And that's the most important part, is that the NPDC gives us sort of life in Boston. They recognize us because of that. Even though we really don't have much power here, it is I don't like to say a cash register key, but it is with the bike pass and some of these other things. But at the same time, it does give us recognition with the state. So it's important for us to have that.
Okay.
Okay.
The hot issue of the day is our friends on Bartlett Farm Road, the brewery and the farm. A new proposal was made at the selectmen's meeting, which they're going to work over for the next couple of weeks to widen the existing road and have parking on the
existing traveled way. We got to keep all these terms clear. This stuff is complicated if you're not familiar with all these terms. The traveled way versus the layout are two different things. Yes, there's been some proposals that the official county commission meeting the other day. I was at that meeting, and it's a way to park on the west side of the road now, and to widen the pavement a little bit. You'll still be parking off of the pavement,
off the traveled way,
existing
traveled way.
Yeah, the existing traveled way, but there'll be plenty of width for vehicles to pass and repass with this, within the 30-foot layout. This is where my quotes in the paper last week were real. I mean, this situation is everywhere on the island with these sub-pile layouts. They don't come to the surface until something happens with a project or property ownership changes. The same things happened with Steps Beach, with some of these ways that we thought we owned or we thought we just had rights just because we lived here all our life.
Right.
And once these properties change hands, like up on East Lincoln Circle, and I like to use Steps Beach as an example, even though that's not a road, it's a similar legal issues from the past bubbling up, and you find out about this stuff. And that got secured by the two attorneys and those property owners working together with the town, several years ago to get that solidified. Now you go up there, and they take care of all the maintenance, and they've got a rock that says Steps Beach, and we would never have done that as a town. And it got done by private parties working together, just like we just talked about.
Right.
And but in this case, if anyone that doesn't think that both those businesses are complementary to each other is just not living in the new economy. Bartlett's Farm is no longer what it was when I was growing up. It's a huge operation. It's an industrial operation. Nobody likes that more than me. This is what brings people here. People that come to Nantucket, I'm talking about seasonal residents at the moment, that bring their SUVs and have all these, that are paying our bills for us with their property taxes, that only live here 3 months a year. They go to Bartlett's in the brewery. That's their big thing. I'm not saying every single one. You know what I mean.
Exactly.
They go out there, and then you have the beaches out there and all of that. This is what I call the old and the new Nantucket clashing. When I was a kid, nobody ever heard of the word hospitality. It was always just tourism and customers with, now it's clients and hospitality. We're in the hospitality business, Dan.
We are.
You are at the airport.
Sure.
What do you think you're doing out there? You're in the hospitality business. we all are. Builders are in the hospitality business. They might not think of it that way, but that's what we are. Nantucket is a branded business, like the Red Sox. Like, we have something here. We may not think about it every day, but something that people want. And in the old days, the New Jersey fishermen would come in the fall.
Excuse me for interrupting you.
Yeah.
You sort of need to keep it fresh, right? You need to keep the concept.
Yeah. And let me get back to that. I'm trying to think of what I had planned to say, and I didn't have anything written down. Jean McGosland, since we got the daffodil this weekend, do you think she knew what was going to happen?
Absolutely not.
Of course not. And Dennis Toner, up 2 weeks from now, he's up next. He didn't know either.
Right.
These businesses, well, not businesses, but these concepts have turned into a business for everybody to benefit from. But the Cisco Brewer issue is different because it's permanent. It isn't just for a weekend.
Right.
It's all the time. And Bartlett's is all the time. And they're in an area of the island that is kind of undeveloped. It's not going to really be developed. It's almost important to
But there also aren't a lot of people living around there.
Right. And it kind of, the operations sort of complement each other. If those, I tell you, sitting on the planning board now for 7 years, I always have to think of the West Ender as this, like, elephant in the room. Every time they do something out there, the room is full of people.
Right.
Even if it's the smallest thing, because there's something about that place that bothers people in Madigan. And now things seem to be working okay with Millie's, but it's very busy out there, and there's cars parked all over those roads out there at night.
Right.
And we haven't had any complaints, okay, which is interesting. And the Bartlett's, the brewery is a similar situation, except that it's more than just in the summertime. And there is a legitimate concern about the size and scope of what they've become. The problem is that with the issue of the 30-foot layout and the issue of the Bartlett's, putting that fence in, and they have a legal right to do that, has made it a town problem a little bit more than it was before. And this is where it gets really difficult to make a decision to fix this problem. So it's tough. Last week in the looking backward column, I couldn't help but see the 50-year one with the parking on the sidewalks.
Right.
And somebody complained. Did you see that?
Yeah.
That was good. I saved it. I'm going to laminate that because that issue comes up every couple years about parking on the sidewalks in town. And it's similar, even though that's out of town. There is nothing that says we can't have on-street parking out of town any more than a big paved parking lot. I mean, what is it that we really want to happen? I mean, it's just going to be a very difficult decision.
You said there was a heated traffic safety committee meeting yesterday?
Well, it wasn't heated. It was, I guess I would say it was, it kind of shed a little bit more light on the reality of what this really is.
Because I haven't been out there, but I understand people are parking there anyway, even with the new fence.
Well,
and now effectively blocking the road.
Well, you have 30 feet.
Yeah.
I mean, you get 20 feet for the road, for the traveled way, and you have 10 other feet of something.
But I mean, I heard that people were parking along the new fence.
Yeah, they were, because they don't. I saw that the other night. I took a ride out there myself just to kind of look at this. But when you look at this from a plan, see, this is the problem. You have to look at this from like 3 or 4 different ways. You got to look at the Nantucket economics today. And here's one I wanted to say. I just thought of this. What is that group, the Nantucket think tank of millionaires that fly in here?
Oh, the one down at the White Elephant.
Yeah, it's the White Elephant, right? Well, those group of people.
Tom Scott's group.
Yeah. Tom Scott, right, he could very well be the brewery if it was another era. Him out there having the same problem. They come in here to tell us what we need next. And here we are fighting about what we already have that somebody would be thinking about this if we didn't have it. Like, you need some kind of local thing that attracts people and things. And these two industries out there are attracting. They're constant attractions for visitors. Not just the local people, but people that come here in the summertime, and that's the Nantucket economy.
Do you think that it's realistic to expect that this new proposal may result in a solution?
I think that we're going to have this is my personal opinion, is there's going to be a stepped approach here. This is not a silver bullet. There's several bullets that will come forward, I think, over time. I think that what's been proposed now is, I don't want to say temporary. I think it's a solution for at least the summer season until a larger sort of thinking plan can be put forth, because you've got the smooth hummocks road issue. That's been on the takings list with the right-of-way committee for a while, and it's gone off the list. It's back on the list. We just looked that up the other day, in fact, and it's true. And that road is a disaster. That needs to be looked at as a alternative route out there at some point in time for
That's
bicycles.
the one that runs from
along the farm to Somerset Road.
Right.
Yeah, and that would be a huge public benefit, and it would get vehicles from just having to go to Hummock Pond and taking a left from Somerset Lane.
Right.
So these things are all part of how you think as far as a public benefit in the future. But for now, something has to happen to at least accommodate this situation for a temporary amount of time to get a better solution in place.